Hey, how have you been doing with these massive solar flares we've been getting pummeled with the last few days? I felt like the 1111 portal came in and the sun came, opened up and the sun came barreling in. So, hope you're doing well, taking care of yourself, of course, supporting your physical body and mind as we're processing through these intense energetic downloads. And I wanted to talk to you guys about something that came through on 11/11 that morning before the Golden River of Blessings. I did a message here and then I did one for my members. And on my member video, it was talking about like the feminines really opening up to the magic and sort of letting it's not a, it's definitely about honoring the truth of what's present, right? We're not going into a bypassing energy. It's like, but at the same time, it felt really important that we open up a new stream of energy that is available to receive new energies, new outcomes. Maybe we have experienced something over and over again, or every time we start to get out of it and think it's the end, maybe another version of it cycles back around. Well, one, you're always learning and building your muscle through those processes, but also our systems and our energetics and our physical human body. We can just get used to something being the same way. And even if we're wanting to be in a positive mindset, our reality that we've experienced has been telling us that things are staying sort of the same, even if it's coming in a different form. So, this is where you can focus your energy. Okay, we're going to acknowledge all of that is present. It's true. I want to live on a planet that is full of peace, but you can go on any media platform anywhere and see that this is not the case, right? But that does not mean that I give up hope or working towards peace in my life or in my relationships or ways that I can bring that into the world. So it's also important that we do this when we're thinking about the love we want to attract into our life, the partnership, the relationships, the friendships, the jobs, the careers, the purposes, the resources and finances to back the life that you're wanting to create. All of these types of things, maybe even if you haven't experienced them or you've worked and you kind of maybe experienced them briefly and then you kind of got swung back into another part of the older pattern, that is where it's not what I've learned for myself when this happens to me is yes, it's frustrating. We're just going to keep it all the way real. But I also know that it's important for me to acknowledge that, feel it, and then say, okay, where is it time for me to level up? Because I'm not the same version I was before. So this experience may feel or sense or even smell or sound the same, but I'm not the same. So it's going to be a different experience. And how can I take what I've learned and apply it to the situation, but also how can I level up my toolbox and what can I learn from this? And this other part that feels important is how can I start to open streams of new ways of doing things that I have never experienced before? So maybe I have this certain skill set that has worked for me, but now it's not working quite the same because now I'm being called into different areas. This is where it may be beneficial, like I said, to then now say, okay, where do I belong now? What's in alignment with me now? And can I open a golden river to what's next? The next people, the next places, the next things, the next resources, the next experiences and opportunities. Okay. We're not bypassing what's happening, but we are acknowledging that we have more potential than what we have been living in to this point. Okay, you see what I'm saying? But also, what came in with that message was that it just came out of my mouth 11/11 to 12/12. And then there was also a really cool message that circled out that message. A song came into my mind, Anything Can Happen, and it was performed. by the group Fifth Harmony. That was the first time I had ever heard that song. And it was fitting that that came in because this was five women who auditioned to be solo singers, and anything can happen. And it was a magical moment where they came in and became a group. And I think they made it really, really far in that competition and had albums, and some even went on to be solo stars. But what was really cool that I had no idea when this message came through, I told everyone I would go grab the performance and drop it in the comments. Well, the next morning I woke up to find out a message that the performance had actually been recorded on 12/12/12. Okay. So I feel clearly that source, our higher selves, want our attention. They want our attention and understanding that this time, always, but right now, if you want to focus in and harness something, almost look at like this wave between 11:11 and 12:12 as this wave of golden energy, this wave of magical energy that's here to help you open up those timelines and those pathways to those experiences that will actually match what you've been shown, maybe what you've been envisioning. And also, another message that's coming in is allow yourself to let your original vision go through an upgrade process if you are guided and that resonates, because you have grown and you have changed significantly since you first witnessed that vision. Doesn't mean the vision was wrong or that it's not going to come to fruition. What's been coming through is actually you may get more details, or it may have changed slightly based on the projection of how much you have grown. The bottom line is that it feels important that we open up to the opportunity to receiving things that we've never experienced. So there are things that want to come through to support us, to be a part of our lives, to be a part of our experience that we've never had before. So how would you know to ask for it if you don't even know what it is, right? That's where asking the highest source, asking your higher self, and allowing yourself to surrender to your highest potential. What is actually aligned for me? Not necessarily my will, but thy will, that higher will. Because yes, I can add in my will and what I would like, right? We can add that in. It's an important piece of the puzzle because we're the ones physically here experiencing it, life, but also opening up that space to say, but I don't know everything. I can't see everything. And my higher self, my source, my connection to the higher power can see things that are better for me that I might not even know exist right now. Okay. So we want to allow ourselves to open up to those potentials. And now I want to just open up to some messages with the cards to support what we might pay attention to, look out for, work with in this 11/11 to 12/12 energy. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Okay. Just roll with me. We're going to take this. So I have wailing tree reconciliations. And I have thoughts in my mind, right? Okay, if we connect it, I am going to look into the book, but I want to share something first. If we look at this connected to maybe experiencing a similar cycle being presented to us and the frustration that that's creating, but I'm also seeing all this activation. And what I feel from the energy of this is the frustration is actually a positive thing. Using your frustration, anger, irritation, and sort of harnessing it not to get down on yourself or project it out into the world, but to use it to sort of break out of the imprisonment of the same pattern over and over again, right? It feels sort of like retrieving this part of you that might be cycling in the process. Okay, that's just hitting me. So if more and more of you has been freed and you're working in the new energy, but you still just feel no matter how hard you're trying, you're feeling stuck, there may be an aspect of you that is still frozen or on another timeline, or it could be some past life energy or some ancestral energy sort of frozen or pulling on you that you're not seeing. Of course, with this message coming through, you're welcome to ask that. Or if you're feeling like you are needing some support with that, I'd be happy to work with you in one-on-one. I have had a wave of people just over this last week specifically feeling that energy of feeling sort of stuck or frozen. What I'm finding is it's because they're actually ready to go to their next levels. And so this seems to be coming up collectively with the counterparts, but also just a big portion of our general collective is opening up to these energies as well. Okay, I do have other messages, but I did want to look and see what the book has to say. I told you this book has been kind of syncing up with the messages. I don't normally do it, but grief and mourning, a time of necessary losses, reconciliations. When you encounter the wailing tree on your path, it's an invitation to stay a while and regroup. A place for you to rest and allow yourself to say goodbye to what no longer serves. You may have been overdoing things, working too hard, or putting too much effort into life with little reward. This is kind of the frustration we've been talking about. If you've been considering making a change, now is the time to do so. One important thing to consider before you make any changes is that you need to allow yourself to feel your disappointment, your loss, and mourn what was and what could not be. This is a way to honor your experience, to give yourself time to consider all the gifts in it, and to put proper closure to it, to really know what you've learned as you walk away from it and into something new. Even in the perception of failure, there is much good to be discovered. However, skipping the stages of loss does not get you to reconciliation any faster. In fact, you'll discover that you will have to come back at some point. So do it all now, look at it all squarely and honestly, and stay with your feelings. Life is not either or, it's both, this and that. So as you dive in and process this, allow it to welcome a become a temporary travel companion on your journey. The feelings that this will bring to the surface will be challenging, yet like all things, they will pass soon enough and you will be more enriched by the experience. Okay, that feels significant when I think about maybe that's part of the process and the frustration is maybe something you've been working on there. Maybe there was a part you didn't fully, completely sit with. And maybe at the time it just wasn't appropriate for you to do that, and that's okay. And it's coming up so that you can process it, mourn it, grieve it, and release it at a deeper level. I noticed that I myself have had some experiences like this, stuff I processed deeply about a year ago. Some of it sort of came up again, but it was almost like a much deeper process of like really getting to like instead of like specific situations, it was more of like the whole pattern. So maybe it was like 10 experiences I had that had a similar pattern to it, and where I have learned what I need to, so the whole pattern is now exiting. So sometimes it's like we were working on those pockets, right? Because it was all that was digestible. And now you're like taking down the whole bag, right? Like if you had a bag or box with a whole bunch of pockets and you were picking them apart one at a time, and now the whole box is ready to be recycled. Okay. So hopefully that can be relieving because that type of release is really powerful and feels really good. I can tell you, I've experienced it before. So the Page of Pentacles and the Star card came out together. It's interesting because I immediately felt like this is where, say, that burning tree, the grief, the transformational process of breaking free from the bounds from where you felt stuck in the grief. Now you're rising out free with the gifts, right? So instead of being suffocated and trapped and imprisoned by the emotion, by the experiences, you're now rising up with the wisdom. Okay. So this process, it's different for everybody, right? But keep going because in whatever way you need to go, right? If you feel stuck, please get yourself support, right? If you're moving through the processes, keep moving. There is literally zero shame in getting yourself support. Yes, we are meant to self-source and provide for ourselves. But part of the things that we're providing for ourselves is saying, you know what? I need some support. I can't see this. I might feel a little bit stuck. Be willing to do whatever you need to do to support yourself. I do. I'm not ashamed or afraid to get myself support or help. Promise you, I wouldn't be where I am right now if I wasn't open to doing that at any given moment. Okay. So, yes, of course, I go into self-sourcing as much as possible, but to be the best version of myself, sometimes I need another set of eyes and ears or perspective to help me open up to my next levels. And it feels like it could even be this message right now. Maybe that's part of it, right? And that's what you're receiving. So it feels like as you let yourself extract the wisdom, process your grief and your emotions and frustration, get down to the wisdom and the gifts that have been gained. And what it feels like with this star card is like a very specific vision is coming into me. Remember when I said, so this is oftentimes the wish card, but what is coming to me is when I said earlier, just open up and ask, where do I belong now? Where can I be the most beneficial to the world now? What is going to be the most helpful to my life experience now? And sort of send out that beacon to source, to your higher self. Like, okay, and start pulling that wisdom and that energy in. What I'm seeing is like, the wisdom of everything that you've been going through, the hard times, the shadow work, the frustration, right? And you have this wisdom that you've gained. And when you open up to ask, now, how can I use this wisdom? In source and your higher self starts to come in and starts to come down and activates this seed and it starts to open. And now you start to get the ideas, the opportunities, and the experiences opening up for you. Okay. In new ways is what's coming through. Okay. And then we have this 10 of Wands. And this to me feels like a deeper version of, again, sort of physically packing up what you want to take with you and sort of leaving behind those experiences. Well, this land, for some reason, whenever I see this card, it sort of feels like this barren land. And it doesn't mean that your past experiences were for naught. What this feels like is you have extracted what you can from that timeline. There's not really much left, right? A couple little lights that are guiding the way out. That's it. It's pretty dreary and dark because you've extracted the lessons. You've let yourself go through the initiation, and now you're moving forward to brighter days and new experiences because you're ready to step into that next new phase. But this process is part of it. Okay. You're extracting what you can and then you're going to move forward. And what it feels like is this, if this is like the old timeline, it's like you're sort of like, as you're exiting you're taking the rest of what's meant to be with you and sort of shutting the lights behind you, right? Closing that door, closing that off, and letting it rest. All right, I'm going to pull in one more message from the Priestess of Light. Sacred action, decisive focus. So this feels to me in this process over this next month or so. It's like let yourself process what you need to. This makes sense with that Mercury retrograde energy. Let yourself retrieve the gifts and ask for what's next. Let that start to initiate and enliven your next pieces. Let yourself be prepared to walk away from whatever you're ready to walk away from. This feels like it's just going to happen naturally. And as you're in that process of completing that out, it's some of the action, but it's almost like as you're on this journey out, she's probably got a walk ahead of her. That's where the ideas, the energy, the wisdom starts to click in this walk out of it, as you're processing, as you're letting yourself experiencing it, as you're pulling yourself up by the bootstraps, is where the wisdom can awaken. It's been inside of you. It just needed space to open up, right? Because it was kind of buried underneath the frustration. So, in this next month or so, just letting it open up and knowing that along this path, you will be given action steps, decisive focus that will help you take those steps one step at a time to where you are meant to be, to receive more and more of those blessings, right? To feel more comfortable sharing and experiencing the wisdom that you have been gaining along this uncomfortable path. Okay. All right, my loves, I'm going to leave it there. Have a blessed day. Take care.